Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shannon channel. And before I get into this, I wanted to just say that I am trying to get some of my July videos out there and recorded and scheduled to go up well before they go up, just because I don't want to be like kind of scrambling at the last minute or forget and then have to be scrambling at the last minute. So if you see me wearing like the same shirt or shirts in a couple of videos, that's why. It's just for my personal sanity. Let's get into this video. As you can tell from the title and the thumbnail of this video, this is my monthly Thursdays for July 2025, and I'm going to be going over the pros and cons of Anime Expo. And I have 7 of each, 7 pros and 7 cons. And I have like the basic ideas of each for each down below in the description, but I will be going into more details. And before I get too deep into this video, I just want to say that this is 100% meant with love and any puns intended, especially with like con part, the negative part of it, convention con, anyway, any puns intended. And I've been going to Anime Expo for 10 years. Excluding the 2 COVID years, I went to Anime Expo 10 years, practically in a row if you knock out the 2 COVID years. And this year, 2025, like I've said, is the first year that I've chosen to not go. And parts of it are because of some of the issues that the con has had, but overall it's not directly because of those issues that I chose not to go. Overall, I just felt like I needed a break from the convention, like a break in which I chose to not go rather than being forced to not go because of the pandemic. I just needed a break from it. Again, one that I chose to do. And like I also say in the description, I've seen the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. I've seen all aspects of it when it comes to this convention. Again, I've been going for 10 years. I went for 10 years, and I hope to go again in the future, circumstances providing. But like, I feel like at this point, for me to be going like loyally, so to say, like I did from 2012 to like 2019, I feel like they really need to step it up. Like, I could see myself going like once every other year after this. Again, circumstances providing, but I feel like for me to want to go every single year, I've been having a little bit of FOMO with not going this year, and I think that ties into like me choosing to not go rather than being forced to not go. But like, I'm working through that. I'm perfectly fine with it, and I'm fine with not going. There's just that little portion of my brain sometimes. But like I was saying, like, for me to want to be going every single year again, they really need to step up their game. And again, like I've said, circumstances providing, money situations providing, I wouldn't mind doing like every other year. Okay, so I actually have 8 in this and not 7 for each. 8 for each and not 7 for each. So like, honestly, I really want to keep going every single year. I do. But again, like, money situations, that's not always going to be the case. And for me, what I have really liked doing, like 2024 and 2025, well, no, 2023 and 2024, what I've liked doing is having the 4-day badge. And then that way it gives me a little bit more leeway on which days I go, and if I need to miss a day for whatever reason, I have a little bit more leeway and I'm not missing out on anything really, or I feel like I'm not missing out on anything for me. So that's like my whole process. But with all of that out of the way, also, actually, one more thing. I will talk about this a little bit later in both the pros and the con list, but I do think that the convention and the backing organization, the SBJA, I think they've always had and continue to have good intentions. It's just with the progressing century and growing crowds, they need to also progress and grow and be able to handle that. And again, I will talk about that. But to go over, I'm going to go over the cons first, and then I'll go over the pros last, just to end on a positive note. And a lot of these, I think I said this earlier, but a lot of these do kind of overlap. The cons and the pros overlap with each other, but it's just different reasonings as to what makes it a con, what makes it a negative versus what makes it a pro or a positive. So a lot of them, like I said, overlap, but we'll get to it when we get to it. So for the first one, it's like I was saying, not keeping up with the century very well or growing crowds. And a large part of this is, at least keeping up with the century, is like the app related. It's app related, and I think it's super positive that they have an app and that they have that accessible. But I think the app needs to be a little bit more updated and helpful. I haven't checked it for this year, for 2025 really, but 2023 and 2024, when I was really using it, maybe it was okay, kind of backtracking a little bit, I may have gone 11 years if I went, I think I went in 2022. Yeah, 2022, because it was 2020 and 2021. So I've gone 11 years, just over a decade. Anyway, so with the app, when I've used it in 2023 and 2024, I don't know if I used it in 2022 while I was there, but I think it needs to be a little bit more accessible and helpful, because there are so many things that apps can do today, especially apps related to events. And honestly, like, I can't think of anything really specific that they could do to update the app. Well, at least one thing that I can think of is like updating the maps, so that like, or like partnering with like one of the map apps, like Google Maps or Apple apps. Google Maps might be a little bit easier to cover for Android users, but like pairing with a Maps app or the Maps apps for Android and an iPhone, so that way you can see exactly where you are in the convention on your phone. And then if you're trying to get to a certain location or a certain building, it'll be a little bit easier to navigate based on the Anime Expo setup and places at the convention center. And then for growing crowds, this is a little bit of a tricky one, because it's at the LA Convention Center, which I think is the best option for it. But I honestly think that maybe having like the main part of the convention being at the LA Convention Center, and then maybe taking over one or two of the nearby buildings like that are large enough to accommodate that, because like having, like I said, having the main area, so like the main part of Anime Expo, and then any cosplay meetups, and then any, why am I blanking out, those like little events where you can go to the panels. I don't know why I was blanking on that for a second. Any panels or talks, have that be in like the main part of the LA Convention Center, and like exhibit hall, artist alley, and then the entertainment hall, have those still be where they are. And then maybe for like other events, like I know they do concerts and then other stuff, or like viewings, depending on what the viewing is. Like I know they do anime viewings, have those be in like a nearby building, but for accessibility reasons, not having it be like a super far trek. And I will talk about accessibility a little bit later. But like those are the main things that I can think about with dealing with crowds and trying to, at least app-wise, keep up with the century and the crowds. Also, crowd-wise, there are people, for whatever mental or physical health reasons, they may not be able to handle crowds very well, so having little quiet zones or little close off zones. I know there's one in the West Hall area, and then there's one in the South Hall area, but I feel like they need to have a couple more of those to accommodate people who might need to take a break from the crowds, like a little more of a break from the crowds. So anyway, moving on. The next thing, the next negative, the next con is it is a larger anime convention. And this does kind of work in its favor, but I'll talk about that later. But like kind of intertwining with the growing crowds, like everyone wants to go to Anime Expo at least once. And there are a lot of people who will travel out of state, out of country, to California, to downtown Los Angeles to go to Anime Expo and do all 4 days, because it's like, hey, they're traveling from out of California to come to this, so they're doing all 4 days. And I feel like they also kind of like with accommodating the current year we're in and the crowds, they need to keep that in mind as well, where it's like it is a large anime convention, so they haven't been doing very good with keeping up with the fact that they are a large anime convention and that so many people are coming. But moving on, the next one is volunteers and staff. Like on the whole, I've had really nice experiences with volunteers and staff when I've needed them. When I've interacted, I've had pretty good experiences. That isn't an across the board thing. So I feel like, and it's like, it's kind of like a fine line, double-edged sword here, where there are so many people and it's like there's only so much that they can do. But they do need to try to be as accommodating as possible. But my main thing here, that was a little bit off topic, is that the volunteers and staff often are not very prepared, even though it's like it should make logical sense. Like it makes sense to me and so many others who go there. Like, hey, there are so many people coming. There are so many of us who are here that they need to be prepared for the numbers. They need to be, even if they're not fully prepared, they need to be mostly prepared for the crowds. They need to be mostly prepared for whatever might come their way, and be prepared for the kinds of people they might interact with or run into. So it's like they need to be more prepared. I feel like there needs to be a bit more of a training period almost, just to make sure like, hey, you guys know that there's going to be X amount of people, hundreds if not thousands of people. This is what you need to be prepared for. And obviously you can't be prepared for everything, but like I said, as long as they're mostly prepared and then they have like some idea of how to handle some situations. And if they can't, and it's like, okay, let me go get my manager, or let me go get so-and-so who can help you. It's like being prepared for, even being partly prepared for these kinds of scenarios. Moving on, kind of like what I was talking about access wise, ADA, American Disability Access, I think, or Association Access. And the past couple of years, I've personally needed to use it for some of my mental health and physical health stuff. A large part of that is my migraines. Like, I cannot be out in the heat for very long. And if you know California, downtown Los Angeles heat, like, yeah, it doesn't compare. Like, I know it doesn't compare to like Arizona heat, but if you've been in downtown Los Angeles in the middle of summer, you know what it's like. And then you're putting a salt, and they've been better about air conditioning the past couple of years, but you're getting, like I said, hundreds if not thousands of people into a building, and it's going to be hot. It'll be cooler in some areas where it's not as crowded, but like there are some people who cannot deal with the heat, even if it's like, even if you're in a cool inside of a building, like it's gonna get hot when you're in crowds. And they need to be like, there are certain situations where they've been better about ADA access that I've seen, but it's like there are other moments where it's like doesn't feel like as accessible. Like 2023 was, I think, the first year where I really needed to start using that. And I remember like those lines, they had separate ADA lines, and those were right next to the door, really close to the door. You didn't have to do too much walking, and you could just go in. But 2025, like, we for the most part parked in the West Hall parking lot, or we're by the West Hall parking lot, and it was a little bit of a trek to get to the ADA line, which is, in my opinion, a bit unacceptable. It is unacceptable because it's like, again, it was early on enough in the morning when I was outside that like it wasn't too big of a deal, but there are other people with certain health issues that like cannot be outside for very long or cannot be standing for very long. And it's like, for us to have to like trek around to get to the ADA line, that was like right by the door to begin with. We had to go around like one of the barriers, and it's like we should just be right by the door. And then they would let ADA people in ahead of time, like going into the exhibit hall or the artist alley or the entertainment hall, but they would let like everyone else go in basically right after. And honestly, I feel like they needed to let the ADA people in first and give them like 5 minutes to at least start getting to where they wanted to go, because like a lot of people who need ADA access, there's a high likelihood that they might be overtaken by able-bodied, normal-bodied people. And like with me, like with my migraines, it's not something that you can see. I'm not in a wheelchair. Thankfully, I'm not in a wheelchair because of my migraines. It's not something you can see. And for the most part, I am very able-bodied. And my mom has some health issues, but she looks able-bodied. And it's like, we can't. Like, there are some people who cannot move very fast because of whatever health issues they have to deal with. So I feel like they needed to let the ADA people into the entertainment and artist alley and exhibit halls and give them like 5 to 10 minutes, like I said, to let them go to where they wanted to go, and then let the able-bodied people in. So it's like I said, they have done better. But it's like 2023 versus 2024, it felt like they took a slight step back with ADA access between 2023 and 2024. So anyway, the next one is the number of events connected to the convention. And there are a lot of things that happen, like premieres, and then you have certain people coming in, and you also have like them pairing up with like certain locations in the hotels so that they can send people for like any of the bigger stuff. And it's like I feel like there needs to be a bit better management of that. And again, with ADA access, and they need to make sure it's like ADA accessible. Even the barest minimum would help. It would need to be like more than the bare minimum, but like the bare minimum would help. But I feel like, the next one is like the prices of badges and how many are sold. I remember pre-COVID, so I started going in 2012. So between 2012 and 2019, they would release the badges, like the badges would go on sale and you could register like soon after the previous Anime Expo. So I went Anime Expo 2012, and registration would release maybe, I don't remember exact dates, but like 2019 or 2012 as an example. What 2012, it was July 2012, and then I think it was maybe August or September they opened up registration for Anime Expo 2013. And you could register, and it was a really low cost. And you could register, and then around Black Friday they had a Black Friday sale and then a New Year sale. So there was that, and then like they would slowly increase the prices. So if it went up in like August, September it would raise a little, October it would raise a little, November raise a little, again Black Friday sale, December, January, February, and then the closer you got to Anime Expo 2013, it would raise a little bit more until it was reasonably pricey. And for Anime Expo, the prices of the tickets make sense for the size of the convention and how long it's been running. It makes sense. But I feel like it was a lot easier for so many people to have the registration start so early at a very reasonable price, and then slowly increase it to a price that makes sense. And they haven't post-COVID, so like 2022, I don't quite remember, but 2022, I don't remember the prices just because I had my ticket from 2020 rollover. And then 2022, 2023, going into 2023, I remember like that the prices didn't, or the badges didn't go on sale until like January, February. I think it was January. And then the same thing with Anime Expo 2024. It didn't go, registration didn't open until January of 2024. And it's like, I feel like if they went back to that setup, it would be so beneficial for so many people. Because it's like, if you have your that weekend free specifically for Anime Expo, or a day or two open specifically for Anime Expo, then it's like 100% like they know that they're going to be going that day, even like a year before. So it's like, and then also too, they had 2-day badges before, which I don't have anymore, and I feel like it would be pretty profitable to have 2-day badges. Just have like a generic 2-day badge and then let people select if they wanted to control crowds. Have people select, oh, I want to go Thursday, Friday, I want to go Friday, Saturday, I want to go Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, you know, let them like choose the days they want to go or can go. Because, and then like have all the 2-day badges, like have the 2-day badge be at a set price, and then let them choose the days, or not let them choose the days. And then, well, it would be easier on their end to have people choose the days. So anyway, but bringing back 2-day badges again would be beneficial. Like I know for me, like I was saying earlier, I would always get the 4-day badge, and it's kind of helped recently because 2023 I only went 3 days, and that really helped. 2024 I went all 4 days. 2022 I went all 4 days, but it was just like having the option to be able to go all 4 days, and also having the option to skip out on a day, like in the middle. Like if it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I can miss Friday, but I can still go Saturday and Sunday. That kind of thing. I'm not saying that that's something that should be done across the board, depending on monetary system but depending on monetary financial support you have, or what's accessible to you. I'm not saying that that's the best way for everyone, but for me that was a really good way, because it's like, instead of buying 2 single-day badges, I feel like it would have been profitable for me to have a 2-day badge as well for that thing, where it's like I can still go 2 days. Anyway, moving on. So it's in the LA Convention Center. I'm not going to talk about this one too much, just because I was mentioning it earlier, kind of talking about similar points earlier. But it's like they need to kind of manage the LA Convention Center, considering the crowds, and maybe partner with some of the other buildings that are close by, again within reason, and considering ADA access and what's easily accessible for people who need accommodations, all that kind of stuff. And then the last one for the con, for the negative, is that it's in downtown LA. Down below in the description, I just typed this as DTLA, downtown Los Angeles. But like, I will talk about like the pros of that a little bit later, but it's like there's so much going on in downtown Los Angeles, and it's so busy to begin with, that it's like, I'm not saying that they should shut down parts of downtown LA just for Anime Expo, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit better management for the area, for like the blocks that the convention center is on. I feel like there needs to be a little bit better management of that. So, and again, I'm not saying to close anything down in downtown Los Angeles, but it's like needs to be a little bit better managed. Because again, there's so much going on in downtown Los Angeles outside of Anime Expo. So again, like I said, to kind of end on the positive with pros, going through my pros list. Again, a lot of these are basically the same. Fuzz on my eye. There we go. A lot of these overlap or are very similar to the cons, but just I'm talking about them in a personal light. So the first one, like I said like twice before, like the convention and its backing have always had good intentions and really are there to try to promote anime and manga and Japanese culture, and they try to do that in a positive light and in a light that's accessible for everyone and anyone, all ages, all backgrounds. So I feel like that's always a really good positive of this. And then the next one is that it's a very large anime convention. I always hesitate to say the largest, but like it's a fairly large anime specific convention, and it like brings a lot of stuff both for Anime Expo and the LA Convention Center and the nearby parking structures and just downtown LA as a whole. So it's like there's a lot of positive things happening because of that, both with, like I said, the area and building and just in general. And then the next one, like I was saying earlier, is that volunteers and staff are and really try to be, for the most part, very nice and helpful. And again, this isn't across the board, but for me, in my experience, for like the 10-11 years that I've gone, I've never had a bad interaction with a staff member or volunteer. The next one is the ADA access. Like I was saying before, it has taken steps forward in accommodating ADA access and accommodating people who need that kind of access. So like, but 2023 to 2024, like I said, it felt like a half step back, but overall still very good with accommodating people who need ADA. The next one is the amount of events connected to the con. Again, like there's so much you can do and so much you can see at the con that it's like, it appeals to like everyone. If you're more into the arts, there's the artist alley, and then there's also like stuff in the entertainment hall. If you're more into like the gaming, again, entertainment hall, and like there's panels that range from cosplay to art to gaming to specific shows or certain crafts. And then there's the exhibit hall, and then there's the entertainment hall and the artist alley. So there's so much to see and do there. And then the next one is the badge system has been improving. And as much as I kind of will rag on, as much as I will rag on the prices and when they start selling Anime Expo badges, like it has been improving, like the tap in tap out system. Like I remember when you would be walking up into the exhibit hall before they had the tap in tap out, you had to show like, hey, I have a badge. And then when you'd be going into the building itself. And then when you would have to go up to the artist alley or go down to the artist alley or go up to the exhibit hall or go to the entertainment hall, you have to show your badge. So like the fact that you have to like tap in, tap out with like the RFID, like that saves a lot of time where it's like, okay, if you're in, then you have to tap to get in. There have been a few times where it's like it's been very finicky with like the tap in, tap out. So I feel like there could be better management of that, but overall it has really been improving. And then another positive is it's in the LA Convention Center. Again, like I was saying, it is the best place to accommodate Anime Expo. And again, like there are moments like there's a way to figure out what would be kind of chill and cool. Like for the most part, people will try to get into the exhibit hall, the artist alley, first and foremost. We'll try to get to that as soon as it opens, like 7, well, maybe not 7, like 8 or 9 in the morning. They'll try to get into that as soon as possible. And then, so you know that like maybe from like 7 to, or like 8:30 to maybe 10:30, 11, it'll be pretty chill like everywhere else. It'll be pretty chill at panels and in the outside areas or in any of the chill areas. So it's like if you don't do very well with crowds, it's like don't go into the artist alley or the entertainment hall or the exhibit hall first thing, like unless there's something, or like unless there's an exhibitor or an artist or somewhere you need to like see first, just to make sure you can get that. Like if it's a limited item, like there's that to kind of figure out. And then also too, like walkways tend to be pretty busy, but there are like spots where you could sit down and relax a little bit. They try not to have too many people sitting on the floor, but in the hallway going from South Hall to West Hall, in that hallway between the two halls, like there's a couple of seating areas where you can sit down and relax if you need to. And that, like, once like the big float crowds go through, it tends to be pretty chill in there. And then there's the 21 and over lounge, and there's a space right outside the 21 and over lounge where it's like if you need something kind of quiet, that's a good spot. And then, like, so it's kind of like knowing and getting the hang of certain things. And again, like with me going 10, 11 years, like I've gotten the hang of certain things. So it's like, I do think that the LA Convention Center is, like I said, the best place for Anime Expo to happen, but they need to like kind of get back on track with managing it. And then the last one I'll talk about is that it's in downtown Los Angeles. I know I kind of ragged about it a little bit earlier, but there's so much to do in downtown LA apart from Anime Expo. Like there's Little Tokyo, there's Koreatown. It's not super close by to downtown, but there's like so many other places that you can go and visit that like connect back a little bit to Anime Expo. So it's like there's so much to do, and it's like that's a very strategic spot for them to do it in. And there's like a lot of places you can try out in downtown Los Angeles itself if you have like the time to do that. So yeah, I did a lot of talking, but this is the last video for July, and it'll be the last anime manga related video for a little while. And if you went to Anime Expo this year, please leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to know what you thought, if they improved at all, if you think they kind of backtracked some more at all, or if they were kind of like the same as last year. Again, I didn't go, so I don't know. I'll be going based off of other people's opinions. But with all that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.